Good morning. It is Tuesday, April 12th. I got Ben riding with me this morning. Paul's out.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Everywhere I go, the people really want to know who I is and who I be. They stop and stare when they see
Ben
me.
requested a longer bounce this morning.
I'm doing a slow bounce.
Tip my hat when it's time for the kill. Ain't
That's
no
okay.
peace when you're really real. I am the boss. I am the Don. I am the one they call.
So Ben calls me just a little bit ago, and he's like, yo, my computer, it's a Windows, by the way. My computer. My computer decided that it needed to update 15 things. Everything's happening. My internet where I work is capuzzo this morning. So I've got my phone literally that far from my face. We're doing the show must go on. And Ben said this, and I want to thank him for it and just shout it out. But he said, rain or shine, the show always goes on in automotive State of the Union world. And wouldn't you know it, but yesterday 10,000 downloads we passed at 140 episodes, which is really, really fun. So yeah,
dude. And I just appreciate the consistency. I was thinking in my head on my drive, I was like, yo, I got to get back there. The show is just so consistent. It's always there. It's like, it's so dependable. Right. And then technical errors left and right, left and right, left and right. Wow. What can you do?
No, it works. It works. Hey, yesterday I want to shout this out. We threw out the idea of a new podcast that a few of our employees are wanting to do. Ben, you might not have heard this yet, but essentially some of our Automotive State of the Union employees are hoping to interview some like frontline technicians, lot porters, salespeople, receptionists in dealerships, and we were struggling coming up with a name. We got some submissions yesterday. Not sure if we've got one locked yet. We got Trouble Solvers, Automotive Crew Insider, ASOTU on the Road, Disrupting the Disruptors, Where the Rubber Meets the Road. We're tossing around some things about chassis this morning. So hopefully by the end of this week, we'll have a whole new podcast, a whole new way to engage the industry, like on the ground level, boots on the ground type people.
Dude, not even the industry. That's huge for everybody else thinking about coming into the industry.
Yeah.
I love it. I love all of it.
No, I think it's going to be really cool. It's going to be, it'll be both for the culture inside. We talk a lot about culture of the industry and perception of the industry. And so I think it'll weigh the balance of both of those going, hey, you thinking about joining the industry? Check out what people are doing, what they're saying, what the actual people that are like diving into the front lines and, starting out.
The camaraderie. Like people don't even realize how tight knit this family is. And that's like one of the biggest draws, I think, of auto is just like, sometimes the family feuds, but the family always comes together for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. You and I talk a lot about and I think we've talked about it on the podcast before, but this idea that we kind of go to the events in the industry. And it's like the two guys that were yelling at each other, mad about something, LinkedIn typing as fast as they can. Like, I hate you. You don't know how to do blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden you find them drinking a beer together at the bar, 100%. Right? Just kicking it, telling old stories. Right. And I think that's the feeling around the industry. And it's top to bottom. It's not just in one space. 100%. So I'm excited about the way that's going to go, but we've got news to get today. Enough with all that. Really, really interesting story coming out yesterday in automotive news that the Toyota chief sales officer for the U.S. has officially said we're not going back to the way things were from an inventory perspective in inventory holdings. And you and I talk a lot about, their just-in-time manufacturing philosophies, right? And so they've essentially said that the target will no longer be as stocking levels and supply chain comes back, that the target will no longer be for them to have a 45-day supply on ground. And when we talk about day supply, just for those that may not know, it just means how many cars are in the market and when are they expected to sell. So if you've got X amount of cars and they're expected to sell in 45 days based on the current demand, that's a 45-day supply. They've moved that target backwards to 30. Now, we all know right now, well, as of March 1, they had a 17-day supply. So we haven't even gotten back up there. But they're saying, hey, look, we're not going back to the old 45. We're going to get tighter. And for me, that, and I think you would agree, that's really in line with their philosophy already in the manufacturing side of things. Right?
I mean, I agree. I think, I think there's more manufacturers that are going to be saying they're doing this. I wonder if they stick to it, right? It's like it's like such a little game of greed, because it's like,
Right.
hey, let's I mean, supply chain management, whatever. Okay, you have a good excuse now. But then when you're like, Toyota, just who they crushed recently? Didn't they crush GM?
Yeah, they just took over the #1 spot, I think, or something.
So it's
like
like,
that, right?
If GM starts creeping up, they're like, oh, guys, we're telling you, it's 35 days, 35, 40 is going to be, okay, the 45 is pretty sweet.
That was pretty nice. We got a lot of wholesale out of that.
Exactly.
So if you don't know, and I think there's kind of two pieces at play here when you think about the profitability of a manufacturer, right? Manufacturers get paid when they wholesale, not retail vehicles. So the dealer gets paid on the retail transaction. The manufacturer gets paid on the wholesale transaction, which means when it hits the dealer's lot, essentially. Well, I think there's another factor at play that a lot of people aren't talking about here, which is rebates, right? Because the higher the day supply, the more you have to rebate your vehicle to get it into a sellable position. And so what I'm interested in, and I wish I could kind of like see the P&Ls of an OEM right now, and dive into, has the wholesale, is wholesaling more like vehicles in this type of measure and holding on to those rebates a better, P&L, or is a high level of wholesale and a slightly higher level of rebates, more profitable for the manufacturer?
It's not even like, it's like a Dale Pollock velocity mindset question, right?
Yep.
Do I just, whip it out and try to churn it out, or do I hold it for a second longer and, not to put as much money into selling it? So similar, I think, dynamic.
So the question is are they going to be profit time or velocity model manufacturers? I mean, honestly, it's something that we haven't talked about for so long in inventory from a new car perspective, because it's never really been an issue. I mean, I know manufacturers that were sitting on 120-day supply in US supply. That's nuts to even think about now when you're selling 120-day into your pipeline. Some dealers are, right? So you think about that. That's almost a year difference in available inventory.
It's like the next make is already, if you're 120 and another 120, right? You're at 240. You're at 2023s pretty quick.
Yeah. So you think about all the things that has to happen from an R&D perspective, from a marketing perspective, to kind of like, get out in front of. Oh man, that's
I just realized when Daly's not here, there's no one to stop me, and I'm just gonna continue to bring you. I'm gonna be like, yo, but what about this? And we're never gonna hit 15 minutes.
It's gonna, it's even worse is right now I'm not logged in to the system. So if you're listening to the pod, typically we're able to kind of manage this based on time, and so I can't see the time on my screen, which is dangerous.
Oh no,
which is really, really, really fun.
I can.
He's like, we got this. Move. Well, hey, look, let's keep moving it, because I'm excited about this next kind of reveal. Last week we talked about Elon Musk becoming the largest stakeholder in Twitter at 9.2%.
Crazy.
And then literally the next day, Twitter being like, so you want one of these board spots, because we might as well give it to you. A couple days later, in true Elon Musk, and this is last week, I had this question is this guy really a car guy? And now I am absolutely convinced this guy's a car guy, because he's like, oh, board seat on Twitter. Nah, right. He just rips the pull cord, and not just that, but tweets at them all of these things they should be doing this weekend, then goes back and deletes them.
I wonder too, if you have a board seat, you have a fiduciary responsibility to do what's in the best interest of Twitter, which limits really. That almost must have been strategic. They must have been here's a board seat. That means you can't really go and say whatever you want anymore, because our stock moves volatile. The volatility of our stock is going to be linked to whatever you say.
Yeah.
And so he probably was like, wait a second, no, I have like almost 10% of the company. Don't need your board seat. I'd rather have freedom of speech. Let's go.
Well, and that's what a lot of his tweet activity is like, how would Twitter bring a more free speech, a more editability, the more capacity for content creators to be flexible within the program, within the platform. Yeah. And so I think you're exactly right as far as what that looks. What I really think is funny about this is, one of my favorite things about Twitter is this line that's like, you know, Twitters may be deleted, but tweets may be deleted, but screenshots live forever. Yeah. And he actually deleted, but people got screenshots of a ton of his tweets this weekend, which is, it's just right on par for what he's saying about the platform. And I think what people are saying a lot about social media platforms, as you know, well, we talked about Instagram giving you this like new ability to have a different algorithm in your feed, because we're starting to be so inundated and so curated by the algorithms that happen. And now, you know, people are wanting to like take some claim back to the way that their content is.
I bet future state, dude, I bet we get sort of like open source algorithms, but also like influencer based algorithms. Like, so if I want to like view Twitter the way Elon views it, so like maybe Elon sets it up to be like, hey, I want to see timeline, but I also want to see like, you know, oldest tweet first, or like, you know, like I bet those type of things start happening, that you're actually like choosing a templated sort of algorithm based on someone that you really like. So like, oh, like I don't want to miss news stories. Prioritize that, you know?
Well, and you know, we actually talk about this for Automotive City Union, because we actually care about this kind of curation. Because like, for instance, with the email, and if you're not signed up for the email, ASOTU.com, sign up for the email. But the idea is that it is hard to capture all of the content in a given day, and to curate that in a unique way that makes sense for you, instead of, you know, being based on an algorithm, but something that you actually grab, is really important to a lot of people. And so, you know, that's what we're trying to do with the email, is go, hey, here's that curated list of things that you should be paying attention to in, you know, the automotive industry, and then like, you know, touch points of related fields. And I think the more that content, I mean, I think I saw a stat 2 years ago where essentially at that point, every 5 days we were creating as much content as than we were in a year 5 years prior. So, you know, now, and that was 2 years ago. So you think about like the volume of content that's being stored, that's being consumed, that's being created. It's just hard to grab all of that. And so, you know, figuring out where that, I want to bring that home from an automotive perspective, right?
Yeah.
And especially from a retail automotive perspective, for me, especially in the marketing persona, is you actually have the ability to create such a community with your brand that you can be the curator of community content. So the curator of best places to eat, best companies to do business with, sports team, you know, engagement within your city. And thinking about that as like, okay, if I could be the best place to get the content that's most relevant to my daily life, there actually might be more stickiness to social media profiles from an automotive perspective.
Dude, this is all, to me, I mean, dude, just, I'm giving you a heads up. We're at 14 minutes, but
I got it. I realize it's over here.
So, but I will say this is ideal customer profile stuff. This is the concept of homophily. This is like, you know, homophily, love of the same. People that are into similar things tend to hang out with each other, right?
Yep.
And if you have two F-150 buyers that, you know, both got FX4s, because I guess within trims of F-150, there's probably some variation. We have two F-150 FX4 buyers. Likely they're very similar personas. Likely they could be buddies, right?
Without a doubt.
And so what's crazy to me is like that action of community, which is just like, let's link those two people together, is something that like auto retail could be leveraging to a huge degree.
Well, this is where a lot of cities have this like cars and coffee idea, right? Yeah. where on a Saturday morning, you bring all the cars out to a parking lot. Everybody's out there. They got their souped up cars. And some dealerships do a really good job at attaching themselves or actually curating that content. And I think figuring out where to, especially whatever your niche is, right? Maybe your niche is, soccer moms or people with souped up cars or truck lovers or whatever it is. Like find that niche for your store and then curate that community, and that community will naturally expand itself and attach itself to your store as the brand and content curator for that. So boom, we just connected Elon and Twitter to automotive retail marketing. Let's go. All right, we got one more. Man, I'm gonna miss all segues this morning. It's killing me, but
isn't there like there's a new segue thing like
I know the segue thing, but I don't have a segue. So
we're on mobile. Oh no,
I know I don't even know. But here's what's really cool is I saw this. Steve Greenfield shared this yesterday. There is an IPO coming in Japan for a flying motorcycle. You heard me right. A flying motorcycle, and it can be yours, Ben, for the low price of $777,000. It looks like one of the speeders. Literally, it looks like one of those speeders in Star Wars.
What?
Yes, it's like a motorcycle. It's a drone company that has now made a drone.
Appreciate that? That's crazy to me.
Isn't that nuts?
Literally crazy to me that we're like Star Wars level tech right now.
Yes,
I don't know.
It's literally happening. They are going to go IPO and, hopefully like develop the tech. The creator of it is essentially like said that Nathan, if you're not watching the video, said as a Star Wars fan, I'm offended by that comparison. The motorcycle looks something more like out of Matrix or Blade Runner. It actually, Blade Runner, absolutely. It does look very similar to that. But the creator of this actually said that probably where you're going to see more of this used is places where harder to find good roads, desert areas, small bodies of water crossing, because it can cross all of those different terrains without needing a car. Yeah. Like Tatooine, right? All right. Well, that's all we have time for today. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. We talked about flying things, just-in-time inventory, and some really cool things you can do today. So get started, build community, curate it, go.
Let's go.